Hello everybody, my name is Tom Peng. I am not a car journalist. I don't do car reviews, but I am an owner of the VinFast VF8 Plus here in Vietnam, where this car is made. And I'm very proud of this car because it is the first, well, actually the second Vietnamese electric car in the market. The first one being the VF34, and that is only produced for the domestic Vietnam market. This one is going global, and I'm very fortunate to be one of the first owners of this car, even here in Vietnam. I have put over 1,000 kilometers on this car. I've had this car for 2 weeks, and I can't wait to share my experience of this car with you.
Hey Tom, it's the one and only Floyd Money Mayweather. First I want to say congratulations on your YouTube channel. Everybody needs to follow your YouTube channel. So what everyone needs to do is subscribe to Tom Peng. Great guy, great person. Tom, keep up the great work.
So first of all, let's look at the exterior. And frankly, you know, beauty is in the eye of beholder, right? But I think this car is sexy. This car is absolutely beautiful. And they say this is designed by Pininfarina in Italy, and I don't give a shit. I don't care. It just looks great. Look at the muscular body, the shapes, the beautiful lines. It just looks like a powerful car. It looks like a powerful SUV that can go fast. And actually, this car has 402 horsepower and I think around 478 foot-pounds of torque. So it's actually got muscle and it can go, all right? I will show you that later. Come on, let's go to the back. The VF8 has a big butt, okay? It has a big butt, and if you like big butt, you would enjoy this. And this is how you open the trunk. You can either find the A letter and go down, and there's a button below it, you can push it, or you can just kick it like that, and it'll open the trunk for you. And it's actually got pretty good sized trunk space. I can probably fit in here pretty good, okay? All right, let's close that. And this is a VF8 Plus model. How do you differentiate between the VF8 Plus and the VF8 Eco? Let me show you. You look at the wheels, all right? So the VF8 Plus has, I believe, a bigger rim and also a different shape of rims. You can differentiate the two by looking at the rims. So it is a 4-door SUV, and it has a higher road clearance, which is really important in Vietnam because in Ho Chi Minh City, there's a lot of flooding sometimes when, you know, during the raining season. So we gotta have some road clearance in order to go through all the, you know, the challenging driving conditions. Now, the charging port is right over here. There's only one of them. So you have to open the charging port from the display inside. And once you open the charging port, you gotta pull this out before you put the VinFast charger in there. There is actually a V here that will show different color depending on the charging status. So, for example, it's green if it's full. If it's yellow or red, it means something, I don't know. From a distance, it looks like a great car, but for some car owners, they like attention to detail. And I think that's where the VinFast, you know, could do better. For example, let me show you this. Look at that. Look at the panel gap here, all right? So this looks huge. And the same on the other side. The same on the other side. Now I believe this is only unique to my car, all right? I think there's some assembly problem with this hood, and I think VinFast can fix this. Seems okay here, seems okay there, but if you compare the right side versus the left side, you can see that there is some difference. For example, look at the gap here on the right side. Clearly the left side is gappier, more gap. I don't really care about these things. I'm not attention to detail like that, but for some people this might represent a problem. I love the exterior of the VinFast VF8. Well, let's look at the interior of the VinFast VF8. And we have to keep the air conditioning blowing because we are in Ho Chi Minh City and it's really hot here, so we gotta keep that blowing, so there might be some background noise here. Now, first thing you notice is that there is actually no instrument cluster, all right? There's nothing here. And it takes a little bit of getting used to because when I'm driving this car, I tend to look at the instrument panel and it's not there. Everything is in this giant display right here. Everything you need to do with the car, you have to control over here. Design is very minimalistic, all right? It's very minimalistic. So you got the display to control everything, and you got your gear changers here. So parking, reverse, neutral, and drive. And then you have your lock all window door control, and you have your hazards. That's it. And then you have this on button and the volume control for music. That's it. That's all you have. There's no other buttons or other ways to access different features of the car. Now, we do have a wireless charger here, so I like to put my phone in there and it will charge my phone. In addition, there's 2 USB ports for charging phones and also to connect your media with the car. In terms of the build quality, this is soft leather-like things. I'm not sure if it's real leather or not, but this is plastic. This is plastic, so this part looks kind of cheap. This is what you would get probably in a Toyota Vios or the same level quality there. And this is all plastic. So this is all plastic. Personally, I don't care. I don't judge a car by these things. But if there was less plastic in the car, then it will elevate the luxury level of the VF8. So in terms of storage space, you got this, all right, and you got 2 cup holders. There's some side storage space here. Of course, there is the glove compartment, which actually doesn't hold very much, except maybe your paperwork and your VinFast manual. There's this thing here, right, which very plasticky. That's about it. Okay, now I'm in the back seat. So I have carried many passengers in the VF8 and I get mixed reviews. Some say the ride is too bumpy, some say it's very comfortable. And I would have to say the seat is a little bit on the hard side. The back, this feels a little bit on the hard side. But the seat itself is okay. It's actually kind of soft. I have never ridden in the back of the VF8, so I couldn't possibly tell you the right quality in the back. But again, I tell you that I get mixed reviews. All right, so in terms of storage, you get this. Also on the other side, there is a center console that pretty much has a cup holder, 2 of them. And it's also very minimalistic, so that's about all you get. And of course some space here, also place for you to put your documents. All right, lights. Hold on to this thing for your dear life because Tom is driving. Kind of like that. All right, let's go back to the front. So we are in the VF8 model, and in this model, we do have a sunroof. So let's try that, okay? How do I open the sunroof? And of course, you have to control everything through the display. So you see the car shape here, and to open the sunroof, you gotta click on the sunroof. And then you can open all. And now the sunroof is opening up. That's pretty cool. Just in case I want some extra sunlight, you know. like we don't get enough sunlight here in Ho Chi Minh City. Let's close it. So I already talked about 3 of the major critical issues I believe VinFast must fix. I'm not gonna talk about them here, but just so that you know, there's an issue with the turning signal, there's an issue with turning on the light, and of course there's a very critical issue of the car can be stopped at any time randomly, and you need this to get yourself out of trouble. You gotta open up the hood, disconnect the 12-volt battery, reconnect it to get yourself going again. So another small issue I have with the VF8 is that VinFast will put you into the handbrake parking mode, and when you go into drive or reverse, sometimes it will automatically help you release the handbrake parking, but it's inconsistent. Okay? Sometimes it will release it, sometimes it will not. So in this case, it did not release, so we have to do it ourselves. So you gotta press this button here to release the hand parking brake. So again, I think this is a software issue. Now, let's talk about the display, okay? That's where all the action is. Turn the light off, on, auto. I can tell you auto doesn't work. And if it says on, don't believe it, because sometimes it's actually off. Again, it's a software issue. I'm hoping that VinFast will release an updated firmware very soon. We do have fog lights front and back. Now, there are different driving modes, so I prefer to drive in sport. That's where you get the most performance out of the VF8 Plus. There's also normal driving mode, and there's the eco driving mode. So if you want to go for distance, if you want to get the longest range, you will put yourself into eco. There's creep mode, and what this does is that if it's on, then it drives like a normal car. So when you let go of the brake, the car will slowly move forward. You can turn that off. So when you turn that off, you can let your leg off the brake and the car will not move. All right. Many electric cars have this feature. I like to keep it on because I want my VinFast to drive like a normal car. There's also a setting for regenerative braking. So if you want to maximize the amount of energy that go back to the battery, then you set it to high. But if you want your VinFast to drive more like a normal petrol car, then you set it to low. I like to set it to low. The VF8 comes with heads-up display. Usually I turn this off, but you can turn it on. The heads-up display will give you the speed. It will give you directions if you are using the GPS. That's pretty much all you get so far, but they will add more things to the heads-up display. I don't like to use it because it gives me a headache. It makes me dizzy when I look at the heads-up display, so I like to turn it off. All right, and you can control the position of your steering wheel by like so. You can lower it, make it higher, or you can go in and out. You can go in and out. All right, in and out. Okay. And also you can turn the heat on. So if you're in a colder climate, then you can actually heat the steering wheel. We will never need this in Vietnam. And it does have a 360 camera, so all around. So when you turn, it will automatically turn on the camera. I can tell you there's also some issue with the camera. It doesn't always work with firmware version 1.0. This is something that VinFast should also look into. You can do 360, so you can kind of spin the car around like that. All right, and we have heated and cool seats, so you can actually cool the seats or heat the seat. The 2 seats in the front and the 2 seats in the back. See, this is what I normally do, okay? So I have passengers coming into the car. I don't ask them, hey, do you want a cool ass? I don't ask them that. I just put them into like a cold seat and then see what their reactions are. And it ranges from, hey, this is really cool, to usually I have to pay to get air blown out my ass, right? So it's fun. So try it out. Next time people get into your VF8, just turn on the cold seat or the hot seat and see how they react. I think it's pretty fun. All right. So and then at the bottom here, you have the climate control. So you can increase the temperature, reduce the temperature. You can set the fan speed, right? I like how it gives you a display showing you like how hard the air is blowing, right? If it's like at 2, then it doesn't blow as hard. But if it's at 6, oh man, it blows so hard. It's blowing so hard, right? And then you have AC, and then you have max AC, all right? I like max AC. I'm in Vietnam, I need max AC, all right? Now the car comes with multiple apps. Many of these apps you cannot use while you're driving. Of course, VinFast cares about your safety. So you cannot use the internet, you cannot play games while the car is in drive. Well, I think that makes sense, right? Although, you know, sometimes I feel that maybe VinFast should not care about my safety so much. Should let me decide whether, you know, I want to kill myself or not. Let me decide whether I want to kill myself or not, right? But I think that's a nice touch. We have the EV app here that tells you the current battery level, expected range, and the current temperature. So at 100%, the expected range is 430 kilometers. Right now at 83%, we have about 357 kilometers of expected range. Obviously, nobody will ever get that, right? So it doesn't matter which electric car you buy, whether it's the Hyundai Ioniq or the Porsche Taycan, or it doesn't matter. You're never ever going to get that expected range. You'll never ever get the WLTP range, all right? You'll always get less than it. So if anybody tells you, oh, we can get 1 billion kilometers with the VF8, let me tell you, that's bullshit. All right, that's fucking bullshit. That's somebody that's loving the VinFast brand in a wrong way. Okay, they're lying. Right, so don't believe that. The expected range for this car on a full charge is 430 kilometers, and of course you're gonna get much less than that. And how much do you get? Well, now that I've driven this car for over 1,000 kilometers, we can actually look at some data here, right? So in the last 1,084 kilometers, our average battery power usage is 29.4 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers. And I know this car has 88.8 kilowatt hour battery. So you do the math, okay? You do the math. So that gives you about 310 kilometers on a full charge. And about 310. But again, that's if you drive like Tom, and you know I drive in sport, I keep the AC on all the time. If you drive more conservatively, I believe you can push 350, 360 even. But that's probably the top end, okay? And I tell you the truth, I don't need to make up these numbers. I love VinFast, I love this brand, I love this car, but I don't need to bullshit. I tell you the fucking truth. Car reviewers generally don't talk about the audio system because it's really hard to show that on camera, right? I would say the audio system here is adequate. It's pretty good. I don't know how many speakers there are, but it sounds decent. It's okay. It's not like a Mercedes or a Bentley. It's not to that level, but it's okay. It's actually, I would compare it to a Ford Mustang GT. I once had a Ford Mustang GT in Canada, like I think the 2017 model. It sounds like that, which is not the best, but it's adequate. Of course, you get all the regular stuff like map, right? The VinFast map is powered by here. And I would say it's definitely not as good as Google Maps. So I still use my phone to navigate, and that's okay because I know that in North America a lot of Tesla drivers, they don't trust the Tesla map and they still use Google, and obviously Google Map is so much better. There's one thing I don't like about the map in the VinFast, and that is your position on the map is generally a few hundred meters behind. So oftentimes if I use this map, I will miss a turn because as I go into the intersection, it doesn't tell me to turn. By the time it tells me to turn, it's too late. So that's one disadvantage with this map. So I don't use it. Of course, you get your phone connectivity. You can connect Bluetooth to all your music collection. You can play YouTube you can play music on YouTube on the phone. It will come through Bluetooth. Lastly, I want to talk about the driving aids, right? So actually, VinFast comes with a lot of driving assistance features. Unfortunately, we are on the version 1.0 firmware, so most of these things don't work. All right, so all of these things, it doesn't matter. For example, if I turn on the driving assistance features, it will say feature is not yet available, coming soon. Again, it's because we're on version 1.0 of the firmware. I'm hoping that with subsequent firmware release, then we can actually test these driving assistance features. I think they're really, really cool, and I can't wait to test them. So obviously, we have to make more reviews of the car as we get new firmware. So why don't we get on the road and I can tell you the actual driving experience of the VinFast VF8. Okay, ready? Actually, before we get going, there's one more thing I want to talk about, and that is starting the vehicle. You see, there is no on button for this car. Like the Tesla, there's no on button. The way to start the car is with the key. So when we want to start the car, basically, you take the key, you open the door, and that will actually turn on the car. There's no on button. That's great. That's supposed to save you time. You just get in and drive. But let's see what happens when you get in. So when you get in the car, there actually is a whole process you have to do. You gotta select the driver. You gotta press the brake to move the seat forward. And then you have to set the air conditioning setting because you will not remember your last setting. So there's a whole process you have to go through. So by not having the on button, you think you're saving time, but actually you're not, because you get in the car, it takes you about 30 seconds to go through all the process to get started to drive. So I thought that's something that VinFast can optimize as well. So let's get on the road and see what the driving experience is like. Let's go. First of all, I'd like to say that driving the VinFast VF8 is a pleasure. It's a heavy car because it's got a big battery, and that battery is beneath the car. And that makes the car very, very stable. It's also four-wheel drive. There's two electric motors driving the front and the back. And what that gives you is a very, very stable car. And it handles very, very well. How I test that is I put girls in the back of my VF8, and then I toss them around. And then I was making turns and changing lane. I have complete control over the car, and they're being tossed around, and I feel confident. I feel that I have complete control over the car. So that's something I really love about driving the VF8. And of course, it's got 402 horsepower, 478 foot-pound of torque. So at any given time, you have access to that torque, to that power. We're talking about 6 seconds to get to 100 kilometers with the Plus model, and it's not a fast car. But because it's electric, you have access to that torque. At any given time, it feels really fast. It feels like a really fast car. Agree? Right? This car can handle. And it's fun. Do you think so, Mr. Tuan? No. Oh shit! Fuck, police. So. Uh-oh. I hope they're not coming after me. This car is kind of fun. It's a fun little car. It's also very quiet, because it's electric, and it's comfortable because there's no vibration from the engine. See what I mean? The turn signals are completely unreliable. So sometimes you go through a turn and it doesn't cancel. Sometimes it cancels too early. That's a problem. But getting back to the point, it's very comfortable, it's very smooth because it's electric. There's no vibration from the engine and it's quiet. And some people think that makes it boring, but I don't think so. I think you can have a lot of fun with a quiet, smooth car. It doesn't have to be a very loud and noisy and vibrating car in order to have fun, right? So I think this is a great driver's car, actually. And I gotta comment about the steering, all right? The steering, I think, is one of the really cool part about driving the VinFast, and that is the steering is very precise. It's very pointed, it's very straight. So if you point straight, it'll go straight. And if you give it input, it will turn. It's very immediate and it's very accurate. I love the steering of VinFast. Even with the E34, I felt that way already, and that carried to the VF8. So I would say this is actually a very fun driver's car. And it's an SUV, and it has an ample back seat and trunk, so it's very utilitarian. You can actually do a lot of things with this car, and it's an SUV. It has high road clearance, so you can drive through difficult terrain, especially here in Vietnam. I generally love this car, and I think if they can resolve all the firmware issues, this is gonna be a great car, and this really has a place in the history of electrification of cars, right? And I think Vietnam has a place in the electrification of cars in the world. And I hope VinFast resolve all these problems before the Americans get to drive this car, right? We gotta resolve all these problems. So VinFast will be a pertinent brand in the world of electrical cars. All right, take some fucking action. This is my review for version firmware 1.0 of VinFast VF8 Plus. And of course, as we update the firmware, we will do further reviews. And I definitely wanna show you the driver assistance features. Don't be a fucktard.